All right, we are recording?
We are recording!
Let's get going with this doozy of a video.
But highly requested.
Very highly requested. We're talking about RV life, money, and unexpected expenses.
And if you don't know who we are, our names are Mark and Trish. We're from Keep Your Daydream. We've been traveling around this beautiful country, the United States, Canada, Mexico, New Zealand for like 4.5 years.
Yes.
And once in a while we take a break from all of our shenanigans, which is following our family around, doing things, visiting places to answer your questions. That's what today is.
Yeah, and we went to Facebook and Instagram to ask what questions you had as it relates to money, and we received over 700 questions between Facebook and Instagram.
In one day.
In one day.
So this is a big question that people have on their mind.
Yeah, so we've broken it down into the following categories. Let's just talk about what the video is about, and then there's a couple other things I want to chat about just in terms of the season and stuff, okay? So we have been keeping track of all of our expenses as it relates to lodging and fuel since we left this season in a document that we want to share some totals with you for now June and July. And then we want to talk about our top 5 costs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And then we want to talk about some of the unexpected costs, because that was a big thing. Like what was a surprise, or what expenses did you have that you didn't know you would have until you got on the road.
Right.
We have that. And then, as it relates to our top 5 costs, we want to provide a tip or two on ways to save in each of those categories.
Because if you could shave a little off the top in lots of different areas, you'd be surprised how much money you can save total.
Yes, and then we're going to round out with how much do you really need to get started RVing, or possibly even going full-time. So,
good question.
and then there were so many other questions as related to the Airstream, insurance, medical, prescriptions, mail. How's the KYD cabin going? How has COVID impacted our travel? Our RV park and campgrounds getting too full with so many new campers. And then also a quick update on the Airstream, because we in the past have been changing rigs more frequently, but now we're not doing that. So people want to know, hey, is the Airstream all that?
That it's cracked up to be. And just real bonus real quick right now, Charlie's good.
Yeah, Charlie's good.
A lot of Charlie questions.
A lot of Charlie questions. Okay, real quick. Last week we did a washing RV video, but before that was, if you didn't catch it, Michigan Part 1. Did you see the Part 1? That means there's going to be a Part 2 next Sunday as we leave Muir State Park. We went up to Silver Lake Campground, did the
Michigan's
dunes.
awesome. And
surprisingly, we didn't expect this. We actually popped over to Mackinac Island again. Mackinac's pretty cool,
yes,
right?
It's an experience.
Yeah, so definitely check out next Sunday's video, because we haven't edited yet, but the footage is ridiculous. And then I've been getting a ton of emails from people saying, hey, I've been following you since the first flat tire, and I didn't get the notification from YouTube. I'm not even subscribed to KYD anymore. So YouTube is experiencing some glitches, and you might want to see if the subscribe button is still clicked. But the best way to keep in touch
is email. So if you go onto our website and you sign up for our email, that is awesome, because every week in your email box, we are not going to spam you. We're not going to give away your information. We're going to tell you what's new and hot here at KYD.
And like when the KYD hats come on, or like some of our member shirts and all that stuff, that's email is our best way to communicate. And that means you also have to have like hello@keepyourdaydream.com in your safe list, because it'll likely go to spam.
Yeah. So,
all right, that, and then
wow, housekeeping, check.
Just a little bit of housekeeping, and a lot of people are like, how do I watch the videos in order? Our playlists.
This is a YouTube thing you need to know for everybody that you watch.
Yeah, if you go to our homepage and then you click videos, the newest video is always in the upper left-hand corner. But if you want to catch up on the seasons or binge watch, which we hear a lot of people do, then go to our playlist, and then every season plays in order. Yeah. And then one last thing before we jump in, we have no control over the ads or the ad content. So the ad you're seeing, we do not pick. Nope. YouTube picks. A lot of times it has to do with like search history or demographics. So just know we're not in charge of that.
Otherwise, it'd probably be all Ford all day.
It'd just be it'd be nothing but Ford truck commercials, people.
What he likes.
Right? Okay.
Moving on.
All right, moving on.
Okay.
All right. So,
numero uno.
Categories. Okay, so for like topic number 1, June and July review. I've got them right here.
Let's just put that puppy up on the side of the screen.
Let's just we'll just fizzle that in right there, and then we'll bring it all up. All right, this is June and July. Fuel cost. All right, and number of fill-ups. So I filled up 6 times in June, 8 times in July, for a total of $449.66 in June, $460 in July.
This is the lowest we've ever spent on fuel ever.
Yeah.
Because we are not moving as fast, and that is one tip that you can use for yourself is stay somewhere.
Stay somewhere a little bit longer.
To save money.
We've been staying about 1 week in each destination, and so that's really shown in the fuel cost, right?
Big.
six fuel ups, 6 fill ups. That's really 6 stops. We have a 60-gallon tank. We did a whole truck upgrade video, which is pretty cool. Love the S&B. Love the S&B 60-gallon fuel tank. A lot of people ask about fuel economy, and the truck is getting 12.5 combined. And when I say combined, I mean between towing and not towing, I'm getting 12.5.
Yes.
That's up 2 miles per gallon from when we had the same F250 4x4 6.7 liter diesel with a 3.55 gear ratio. Okay, same exact truck. That's 2 miles per hour better pulling the airstream than the reflection. Our reflection, which did weigh 2,000 pounds more, we got 10 miles per the gallon combined. Okay?
So there you go.
So there you have it. Okay, so next, let me just show all the stuff. Nights in an RV park, state park, harvest host, dry camping, and mooch docking, and even a hotel. So for June, nights in an RV park, 21. In July, 12. State park, 5. July, 4. Harvest host, 3. In July, 1. Not near enough harvest host in July.
Yeah, not near enough.
But that's because of all of our mooch docking. Dry camping in June was 1. In July was 0. Mooch docking, 0. But in July, mooch docking 11.
That's right. We really wore out our friends.
Yes, yes. Now, you're probably wondering, why was there 3 nights, actually 4 nights, in a hotel in July? 3 nights in the hotel when we were doing the lithium battery install. We installed some battle-borne batteries in the front, and that video will be coming soon. We're actually going back to do a little solar upgrade on that deal.
And if you ever have to stay in a hotel because your rig is getting repaired, not because you're going to a luxurious place and you just love being waited on and having your bed made, it's terrible, okay? Because when you stay in a hotel because your rig is getting fixed, every time you buy that morning cup of coffee or you go out for a dinner that's really not that good but still very expensive, that's when you truly appreciate. And then you spend $150 or more.
Oh, it's crazy. $150 a night at a hotel.
Yeah.
And then that 4th night, that's because we had to stage ourselves to go over to Mackinac so we could maximize our first day in Mackinac. So we actually stayed the night in Mackinac City, spelled differently, and then we took the ferry over in the morning. So that video, hopefully next weekend, if we include Mackinac, it was pretty fun.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So how much did we spend? That's the most...
The highest probably we've ever spent, really, in June was $1,700, $1,710.29.
Yes.
And in July, $926 because we did mooch docking. I don't think I've ever seen our lodging so expensive. And this is a good point to say that the reason that we've never shared exact numbers in the past is we never thought that the way that we do RV life was a fair representation of how, like, anyone would do RV life, right?
Well, for the most part, people are part-timers, weekend warriors. They want to go out for a weekend, and you can do that in the woods for free, or you could do that at Fort Wilderness at like $125 a night. So it's really up to you, and it ranges. And so we don't want to put parameters on you to make you think, oh my gosh, RVing is so expensive, or oh my gosh, RVing is so cheap. It really depends on what you love to do and where you want to go and where you want to be.
Well, I would say also it comes down to your mission. So if your single mission for RV life, in quotes, was to save money, then you would prepare and set yourself up for saving money. You probably wouldn't get a motorized RV or a triple axle diesel pusher towing car. You'd probably get a truck and trailer. Okay? You'd likely have a generator so that you could dry camp, right? And then let's just say your monthly lodging right now in a home or an apartment or rent or mortgage, however you look at it, was, let's just say, $750. Okay?
Right.
You could then say, hey, how do I spend $750 in RV life? Well, you could bust out RV Trip Wizard, right?
Yeah,
and you can start looking through. You can say, all right, hey, look, I got 14 days of this BLM. I could go find some good weather. I could stay 5 nights at this BLM. I could go to this RV park at $50 a night. I could stay there for 3 nights, and I could dump and regroup. I could mooch dock with some friends over here. I could stay with them for about 5 days.
Yeah.
And you can save money.
And following weather is a huge thing.
Yes.
Because then you're not burning fuel. If you're too cold, burning propane.
Yes.
You're not trying to seek out air conditioning. You know, you can keep your animals inside your rig because it's light and cool. So anyway, so that's, you can make it whatever you'd like.
We have more to talk about that when we get into ways to save, but let's talk about our top 5 costs.
Okay.
Again, you know, is the way that we do it a fair representation? I don't know. I mean, so we have our 5. Our number 1 expense, and this is again something probably specific to us, the way we eat and being a family, is food.
Yes.
Okay?
Well, anybody who has a teenager here understands that your food cost doubles and triples.
Yeah, maybe you have second dinner and second breakfast, okay? All right, so food, lodging, entertainment, fuel, and then repairs and maintenance. And I would say this is kind of our top 5. They might be prioritized a little bit different for you, but these are generally speaking in the top 5. And we're going to talk a little bit about insurance and medical prescriptions and mail, but generally speaking, insurance is a very personal thing too.
Yes.
It's not something that's like, because you're in RV life, automatically that means your health insurance is going to go up and down. It's kind of like what it is at home, and now you're just doing it in an RV.
Yes.
Okay, so now number 3, unexpected cost. And I did not see this coming. This is actually pretty surprising. Our number 1 unexpected cost is pretty surprising.
Oh, now I'm reading what he has down here.
Yeah, it's actually the 2021 Ford Bronco. I mean, I just didn't. It's crazy expensive. I didn't know it was coming, and so I have a feeling that's going to be.
We're not getting a Ford Bronco, but he loves the new Ford Bronco. Anybody here love the new Ford Bronco? It's gorgeous.
The Ford Bronco is my first truck. Okay,
yes.
There's pictures of us when we were like 12. All right, in the Ford Bronco. So I have a feeling that's going to be our biggest unexpected cost.
We're not buying a Ford Bronco.
That's what she says.
Okay, so anyway,
okay. All right.
So laundry. I felt like laundry was actually more expensive than I thought it should be. So it really depends on where you go get your laundry done. I started stopping doing laundry at RV parks because I felt like it was almost twice the cost, and I would go to a place outside in town, but then my convenience factor went way down. So laundry is somewhere, I do it once a week, and it's somewhere between $10, $15, $20 a week.
Okay.
So there it is.
All right, and then I would say
we've had 5 people most of the time.
Yeah, and a lot of people wonder why we didn't
now.
have a laundry machine when we had our toy hauler, because we had hookups. And again, it was because we had 4 people. And I personally feel like if we were doing laundry in the RV, we would just, every day would be a laundry day.
Which would have been convenient.
Okay. But then those machines don't dry that great. But,
yeah, they don't.
You know, so I just feel like...
The only reason we didn't have that, though, is it was kind of expensive.
Yes.
And we knew we were only going to have the rig for a little while.
That's right. Okay, so I would say lodging is surprisingly creeping up. When we first started this 4.5 years ago, it seemed like the average nightly rate was in the 35s, 45s, and 50 to 55, maybe even 60 were the really nice parks.
Or, destination places.
Yes, and now it seems like 50 for the RV parks is the average. And we're seeing like prices go up into the, like Coulter Bay campground in the Teton National Park is an amazing RV park or amazing campground, but I mean we paid $84 a night. Now granted it was full hookups on a pull-through site because we were last minute, and that's a quick savings tip. The more prepared you are, the more you can save,
right? Because
then you're going to get the site that's appropriate for you, maybe like a 30 amp back end versus a 50 amp pull-through,
right?
Save a little
because that's
money.
What's left,
Yeah, but I would say lodging is starting to increase a little bit more on, especially of like the premier locations.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Okay, and then we've got oh, this is interesting. So flights.
Okay, that is definitely our most unexpected cost, but it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because it's not actual cost to us because we have airline miles. We like to use Delta and Southwest, mostly Southwest. So if you have kids that have gone on to college and you still RV, someone's flying somewhere.
Yes.
So, because if you're out going and exploring and you either want your kids to come and visit you, or let's say you're across the country and, something happens to a parent, a grandbaby comes, you're most likely, and everyone's different, you're not picking up your rig and driving across country and doing something for a week and then driving back to your destination. You'd hop on a plane, you'd go back home, you'd stay with some friends, you'd figure out whatever it is that you're there for. So just to give you an example, 2 weeks ago, Carson flew back to get his license about a month and a half ago. Victoria flew out to see us for 4th of July.
And we use Southwest Points.
For
all of that. There's a link down below. I feel like keeperdaydream.com/SWA for Southwest Airlines. Because it's killer. It's how we get all of our kids all around.
Move the coconut shells.
Cool. Are those kind of our unexpected ones?
Those were our unexpected costs. And yours might be totally different. Maybe your insurance, your medical insurance doesn't pay for out-of-network coverage. That could be an unexpected cost for you. Maybe your food bill could go up because you're like, I'm in Memphis, or I'm in, when we were near New York, we wanted to go out to eat, and Bend, Oregon was a foodie town. And where did we just come from? Jackson? Super awesome town to eat in. So anyway, and then all of a sudden we find out that Bozeman was so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you could see how this quickly could get out of hand.
Yes.
So, and then all of a sudden you're eating out 4 days in the week, and that could be just
Yeah.
detrimental to your budget.
I do believe, though, if you really want to find ways to shave off those unexpected costs, you could get something like a 2021 Ford Bronco, and that would actually end up creating so much entertainment value, you wouldn't have to do these other things.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I
Like
think
you
we should
could
keep
do more
going.
off-roading.
You see how hard he's trying. It's not happening.
Okay, all right. Okay, so number 4, ways to save. So we have a tip or two for every one of these categories, starting with food. Trish, a tip or two?
Okay, food. First of all, go to the grocery store with a menu. That helps me every single time because I know from my menu what kind of ingredients I need, and then I stay on track. I leave the kids at home. Because that is an instantaneous 10 to 20% more.
She might leave the husband at home, too.
Yes, for different reasons. So anyway, and then we don't really buy lunch food per se. I just make more dinner than we need, and then I package it in small things. Sometimes I make a specialty lunch if we're going out on a hike or things like that. That could be really yummy. But I just take the extra portions. I make them in small containers. I put them in the fridge if I know it's a travel day, so we can just grab them real quick, or I throw them in the freezer so that we have something fast when we need something.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah. And then also,
food tips.
when Trish is prepared like that, then we're typically eating better on drive days.
Yes.
And we are not now susceptible to like being hangry and saying, let's just go get some unhealthy food that's expensive. If there's any one thing that's starting to trend from these ways to save, it's that preparation saves you money.
Yeah.
Being last minute.
Go ahead.
Being last minute costs a lot of money because you have to go to a more expensive RV park, and then you have to get a more expensive site, and then you don't have food, so you eat expensive. Or I'm sorry, you don't have the food prepared, so you have to go out to dinner. So preparation is the key. I'm starting to realize in this video. Okay, lodging. Like we said, we think you could shave 25 to 50% off your lodging by taking advantage of dry camping options.
Yes.
And programs that are membership based with a small fee, like Boondockers Welcome and Harvest Hosts have a membership that's fairly nominal, but provide all sorts of dry camping options that you can spread out your budget.
We use Elks.
Oh yeah, and then there are other, like, what do they call those? Fraternity, not fraternity, but fraternal organizations like Elk and Moose.
Yes, they're usually philanthropic based.
Yes.
So they help the community in some way, and then there's benefits to the members.
Yes, and $3 drinks. So it also shaved that alcohol bill off. Okay. Now someone said, how much do we spend though at a Harvest Host? Which is it's a fair point.
Well, and another way to ask the same question is, I've said you just need to participate when you go to a Harvest Host because they like that. And someone said, what does that mean? So if you're staying at a winery, you'd buy a bottle of wine. If you're staying at a market, you'd buy a bar of soap, so on and so forth. Like when we stayed with the alpaca, I bought a little hat.
If you're going to use Harvest Host as a way to stretch out your lodging budget, then, and that's like your primary mission is to save money, then I would participate at the minimum level. And I don't think any host would have a problem with that because that's the deal. But if you're using Harvest Host because you just like to camp quietly along a fence and look at the vineyard all night long, then buy some bottles of wine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Cool.
Totally.
All right. And then, we have never used Boondockers Welcome, but we are members. And I think that's another great way to save. And then, of course, there's Thousand Trails and there's other programs like that.
Right.
We have been Thousand Trail members before.
Only because we got it through the purchase of an RV.
We did, and we have found that we travel the country in such large distances, it's hard to pick a zone, and so we actually only came across one location that fit our needs, so we only used it once.
Yeah.
But again, if our mission was specifically to reduce lodging expense, we would plan
In advance.
Okay. All right, so entertainment. I would say for entertainment,
How to save?
a tip or two to save is that we really like being in the outdoors, and most of the time the outdoors are completely free.
Absolutely. And one of the things we like to do is to incorporate whatever we're going to spend money on and stretch it out. So like we're going to go out to dinner, we're going to go walk the town first. I don't typically buy a bunch of like sweet things to keep in the rig, otherwise we'd just be eating them all day. So we reserve like ice cream nights, and then that's like kind of our night. We eat dinner, we do whatever we have to get done, and then we go out for ice cream, we walk around, we go look at the sunset. So that's how we do entertainment. But you can also look for free days at museums. You can go to the library that's local. Sometimes they give you like a punch card that you can go to. Maybe one member is free. There's just lots of ways to plug in. Visitor centers are amazing.
Really, they really are.
They will give you so much information. And then also the guides at national parks. What are they? Rangers.
Rangers.
This is the Ranger
Is that the universal symbol for
This is
Ranger?
the universal symbol for Ranger. So the Ranger will help you with all kinds of ways, what's local. I mean, they're so smart.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's so helpful.
And I would say also that RV life is kind of a journey. And when you first start, it's kind of fun to participate in a lot of the touristy stuff and the stuff that takes tickets and tours. And then over time, you know, a lot of those tours and touristy stuff start to feel the same way. Like it's the same type of tour in a different town.
Right.
And so now that we've been on the road for 4.5 years and our kids are older, we are now appreciating our moving our route towards seeing people.
Yes.
Of course, the KYD community and meetups, unfortunately, right now are kind of on hold due to COVID. But typically, we're going to pick a route based upon meeting the KYD community, doing meetups, hanging out with friends, and doing great hiking because that's the stuff we like the most. So we're doing things that require fewer tickets. So our entertainment bill is going down.
Way down.
We're substituting with the fact that Trish is working on a cookbook, and so if we're in a foodie town, we're going out to dinner a lot.
Yes.
Our kids are of the age where we can have date night every night. So you know, not every night, but you get the point. If we're in a foodie town, we're going to go out a couple times.
We're going out.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Gas, fuel. This is a big one, okay? If you have a gas truck, not meaning non-diesel, you could use, that comes back to preparation. You can use Gas Buddy and fill up just when you, start thinking about when you're going to fill up after that needle is below a half a tank. So you have options as to where you want to fill up. So you don't have to get gouged for expensive fuel.
Right.
Plus, it's adds in a little bit of safety because when you pull up to a gas station and you look in, you're like, man, I do not want to go in there because it's just a little sketchy.
Maybe the overhang is really low, or the curbs are weird, or it looks like a tight turn. That's what you mean.
You
by
now
sketchy.
have options that you can just keep going because you don't have to stop there. But if you're diesel, you have a few more options, and it's due to the those or diesel saving cards and whatnot. And there's actually a couple options now. TSD is what we've mentioned before, and that's has been big savings for us. I think the last time we used it was like $12, right? And it's automatic, which is cool. Plus, I don't have to go in to the gas station.
Yes.
Truck stop, I should say, to do it. I can do it right there at the pump, which is cool. But there's another one that has come to my attention that I want to share with you. It does require a $10 sign up, but I think there's a few more locations. There might be more savings. I definitely think it's worth mentioning and checking out.
Right. There's a charge per transaction, though.
Yeah, there's $2 per transaction. But I think most of the time the savings will far exceed that, and if it doesn't, I think it net you'd be fine. So anyway, instead of going into all the details now, just go to keepyourdaydream.com/fuel, and then on there I'll have both programs, and this other program I'm mentioning has a business option. So if you're a business owner or you have a fleet, or let's just say you have an EIN number, then there could be even more additional savings for being commercial. But I think these fuel cards are a no-brainer for this reason alone. Going to the truck stops, not only is the fuel faster, but it's cheaper and it's safer because you have lots of space.
Lots of space to go in, and you don't have to put your card in twice.
You don't have to put your card in twice, you don't have to go inside, and you can get DEF, which for those who don't have a diesel, it's diesel exhaust fluid on the newer truck models. They have DEF, and you get DEF at the pump. So lots of reasons to sign up for that stuff.
Yes.
And let me know if the new program that I linked to, you get a bunch of savings off of that. We're going to have both. Okay, number 5 on the list, repairs and maintenance.
Repairs and maintenance. Well, we're handing in this RV in a couple weeks to get repaired.
Yes.
We have a water leak issue in the bathroom, and that's not going to be cheap.
No, I got quoted about $1,500, and we got to replace the floor because the water got underneath the floorboard. So there's a leak somewhere over there. Of course, we replaced the board, the water heater board on that. Same board that I replaced in the Grand Design Reflection.
Yes.
Same Atwood water heater, same board replacement.
Yes.
That was about $112. Other than that, there hasn't been really anything else.
And then as far as the trucks, we've had Fords for our whole RV life, so to speak. But we've had really good luck with trucks. Our Ford trucks, but even before we started RVing, you had an old F-150 that had how many miles?
F-150.
Sorry.
Jeez.
How many miles were
175,000. No repairs. No repairs. And then 100,000 on our next F-150. No repairs except for that fuel pump fuse we replaced in Bend, Oregon. And then, of course, wipers and brakes and windshield wipers, brakes, oil, tires.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, so we, I think generally speaking, repairs and maintenance is going to be in the top 5 for a lot of people, especially if it's a motorized RV. And if you have an older truck, the best truck is a paid-off truck, 100%. At some point, especially if it's a diesel truck and it's paid off, at some point, I know people that have spent $5,000 to $10,000 a year on repairs at some point. If
You
you're going
have
to
to
travel a
figure out
lot,
where that
you've got
balance is.
to draw that. You got to balance all that out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's ways to save. Number
Mm-hmm.
5. How much do you need to get started?
Whatever you have. And we're not even kidding. So
Mm-hmm.
starting small, starting now. Because if you wait for like the perfect rig, the perfect time, the window will close on you. And so the best thing that we always come back to is starting with what you have. We receive so many stories of people that have taken that to heart. They throw a tent in the back, they zoom up to wherever they want to go, they send us pictures and they say, I got to do the same hike, eat the same food, and I just didn't have the rig I wanted to have. And so what happens is that evolves. And we have a very funny story of the same thing. We love the lake. We are boaters at heart. And so in the beginning, when we were first married, we had no resource to get on the lake. So we just bring our truck, we put the bed down, we bring some food, the kids would play next to
Tailgated
the water.
the lake.
We tailgated the lake. It was super fun. We're like, we're here. And then one of our friends gave us a Sea-Doo thing that he was going to like get rid of. He was gonna, because he was like, this
a jet ski.
Yes. And so anyway, so we had to go get it fixed up, and a friend of a friend did it for us, and the story got back to us that he said, I'm polishing a turd. Those were his words.
These guys are polishing
These guys are polishing a turd because the jet ski was so bad. So anyway, but what happened was we were on the lake, our kids were having memories, the thing went 2 miles an hour.
Oh.
It really did. It was terrible. But all our kids can remember is, remember when we had a jet ski, we were out there, because all they remember is that we spent the weekend together at the lake.
Yes, and
So-
I've said this before, that like, even as it relates to RVing,
Yes.
when you look back at like the trips that you've done, the bumps in the road tend to get forgotten, the fish tend to get a little bit bigger,
Yes.
but you don't remember
The
like
hardship.
like no one says, oh man, remember that trip we went 10 years ago, it was so much fun, but I just wish we would have done it in a nicer rig, because that would have made the memory so much better, right? That said no one ever, right? So that's why we're such big advocates of starting small now is better than not starting at all.
Right.
Right?
Right. So,
so
we
what
hope
do you need?
take that to heart. And what do you need? Nothing more than you have. So really just getting out there, and then you're going to learn so much. What do you like doing? What do you want to spend money on? What kind of RVer are you? We look back on our first rig that we brought down to Mexico with us. It took us all over the United States, it took us to Canada, and it took us to Mexico, and it was falling apart. Literally the front part of the rig was separating from the rest of the rig. It was dogtailing on the way down to Mexico. I'm not suggesting that you want these experiences, but I am saying we did it.
We did it.
We did it with that rig. So.
And I don't even remember the RV. I remember what we did. I remember where we went.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So so we just keep.
We just
keep
want to
beating
encourage
that
you to just
drum.
get out there and do what you can with what you have.
Yes. Who said that? Roosevelt? Start where you are with what you have. No.
What you
do
can
what you
do.
can with what you can do. Anyway, it's a good quote.
Look it
It's a
up.
great quote. Well, I put it right here now.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
La-la.
Okay, so that concludes our 5 sections on money, RV life, money, and unexpected expenses.
Right.
And
So that you kind of have a idea, though, because we gave you how much an actual dollar amount for where we stayed for those 2 months. We gave you a dollar amount for that. Food is totally relative. So what you're spending now, you could probably spend on the road. The only caveat to that is, like, you can't go to Costco and stock up for the month.
a lot of people ask how often you shop. Did you mention
Once
that?
a week.
Once a week, yeah.
Once a week. So anyway, so your food cost is totally relative. What you're spending now is what you're going to spend on the road. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. So
Okay, the Q&A. Well, let's pump into the Q&A section of the video and
Let's
round
do
things
this.
out. So, insurance, medical, prescriptions, and mail. Let's start with mail.
Okay, mail. We use Traveling Mailbox. It's totally awesome. They take a picture of the front of our piece of mail. We tell them, open it, shred it, forward it, and then we have all digital mail now.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Everything's PDF.
It's like $50 a month,
No, it's like $29.
but we've added some things on. So it starts somewhere in the $25, $29 range, and you
Okay.
can work your way up.
Okay, so insurance. We use Progressive Insurance for the RV because we have a 16-year-old and someone else with a permit, and Tori's 20 and she just happened to rear in a Porsche a couple months ago. Insurance
And total her car.
And total her car. Our auto insurance is kind of pricey,
Through the roof.
but that's kind of subject to our situation.
Yeah.
I don't think. Oh, and we have a house, so that does help. The KYD cabin is kind of like our primary residence.
Right.
But the reason I bring that up is that if you don't have a primary residence, I think Progressive, and you can check me on this, Progressive and Geico are the only ones that provide RV insurance
For
full-timers.
full-timers.
And I will say that if you're going to buy an RV and you plan on financing the RV, and you're planning on selling your house, you might want to make sure you get all your financing for your RV done, because when you sell your house, it falls into this thing called the Patriot Act, and you can't get financing.
Right.
And then there are only a couple companies that do financing for RVs.
Right. So you need to look into that. Those are some pretty serious issues.
Okay, medical. We, for years, paid a fortune for a private Blue Cross Blue Shield plan.
Because we never had a large company to be under, so we had to buy private insurance.
We've pretty much always been self-employed. And the problem is when we hit the road, we were always out of network. So not only was the premium ridiculous, but the deductible was insane. And then on top of it, it was...
When we say ridiculous, we really do mean ridiculous.
Oh, like a good $1,500 a month for like our premium, and then the deductible was $2,000 per person, had certain things to meet. So as a result of all of that, when we hit the road, we switched over to MediShare, which is kind of a group share plan.
If
you're a business owner, it's not deductible. It's not deductible. It's been working great for us for the years, but we've also never had any like illness or something under it.
Right.
We've talked to people who've had, and they haven't had any problems. But so anyway, what am I saying? I'm saying I'm not recommending it. We're telling you that's what we use.
Right.
Okay, so now we don't have any prescriptions and things of this nature.
But okay, so people have written in and they say, I have to see my doctor because the rules have changed. I have to see my doctor every 3 months in order to get my prescriptions renewed. So my answer to that is that Southwest card again, so you can go back and fly back and see your doctor. That sounds a little bit excessive. Maybe if you have the same kind of travel circle, maybe you're a snowbird, you end up in 2 locations throughout the year, have 2 primary care doctors. So you're kind of like just going back to that one for the second visit, you're going back to the other one for the second visit, so you can get your meds taken care of.
Yeah, we have a dentist in Arizona and we have a dentist in Michigan.
So that way we're getting our checkups when we're supposed to, but we're not like flying home to go see somebody.
Okay, so the KYD cabin. Quick update on the KYD cabin. People want to know how it's going. It's going actually really well. I mean, we love
much fun. It's so much fun to see people taking pictures at the cabin. They're pumped to be there. They're doing all kinds of things in northern Arizona. It's a blast.
Let me just say a couple things about real estate. If you're thinking that you want to go full-time and you don't know what you're going to do with the house that maybe you raised your kids in, or a house that you're living in now, we elected to get out of the real estate market completely to go RVing. But then as our kids got older, we did want to have a place where we could have Thanksgiving and holidays and things, and we also wanted to be back in the real estate market. But if we were going to get back in, we wanted to do it with a place that was very deliberate, that was in a 12-month rental market, meaning that we could rent it out in the winter or the summer, the spring or the fall. Okay, and we wanted the fact that it was an investment to be the primary mission. Like, that's the second trend of this video, is what is your mission? And if your mission is to have a piece of real estate to be an investment, then all arrows have to point to investment. You can't say, like for instance, if your kids are raising, you might say, I want to have this house because it's near the school zone or it's near a grocery. Those are all your needs. When you buy a place specifically to rent out, it's all the needs of who is going to stay there.
Cater to other people. If your real estate is to cater to other people, you have to think about their needs. If your real estate is to cater to yours, you have to think about your needs. And all this is to say, we are not realtors or investors.
Well, someone was, but we're still not. This still isn't advice. Charlie does have some really good real estate advice, and listening to him is about as wise as listening to us.
Yes, you have to make your own real estate decisions.
You have to make your own choices. I'm just going to say that a lot of people who are making changes, sometimes people sell the house that they've lived in for a long time, take some equity out, and then they buy a very deliberate smaller place so that when they're done traveling they can go back to, or they can rent it out. So those are coconut shells that you can consider. Yeah,
and it's important to remember that being an RV and staying in RV parks is like being a renter, because that money you will never see again. You're spending it on rent. You're not spending it on an asset.
Not to be too much like a Debbie Downer, but your RVing is depreciating and your lodging is going bye-bye.
So that's why we even started thinking about, okay, well, what are we going to use for the future?
All right, how has COVID impacted our travel so far? Well, for one thing, it slowed us down
a lot,
which has been kind of nice, actually.
Yes. Well, look, we started in Arizona. We made our way over to Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, and then right around here, we decided to beeline it, take a boat, and get over to Michigan. So right now, we should be in Canada, but Canada is closed to the United States. So we are now considering, do we go up to Maine and go down here and go across, or do we go back and we hang out in the mountain states?
And we will decide in 2 weeks and keep you posted as to what the rest of the season looks like. But, I mean, we're just kind of rolling with it, and we're going a little bit slower. I would say that a lot of people have asked, well, this will lead us into the next question. With so much new demand for RVs, Are you guys having a hard time getting into campgrounds and making reservations? How is the no reservation thing going? And here's my take on this. I actually don't think it's any different than it's ever been. I think there might be a few more people because we're all in the States right now.
I think it has more to do with the fact that anyone from the United States is staying in the United States. Think about all the people that would be pilgrimaging up to Alaska or going to Canada or Mexico, or even overseas and doing their summer vacations. People are not doing that. They're buying rigs and they're doing things in the United States.
Well, just think of all the places that you drive through a neighborhood and you see all the RVs on the side of the house behind the RV parking.
Yes.
Well, right now they're using those because they can't do anything else. So
right.
I think right now there is a more influx of RVing, but I really haven't noticed that big of a difference.
If you compare summer to summer, I think it's very similar.
The fact is, COVID or no COVID.
New RVers or no new RVers.
Yeah. If you're going to go to a hot destination between May and September, Thursday to Saturday, you're probably going to have a reservation.
Yeah.
And you've always have had to have a reservation.
Or you're going to have to show up last minute and be willing
to... you show up day of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, the big question, everybody would know, how is it going with the Airstream now that we've been on the road for how many miles?
Like over 4,000 miles?
Something like
5,000 miles.
Yes.
I love the Airstream.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the Airstream. Out of all the rigs we've had, we probably should love the Reflection the most.
It was the most practical.
Because it was the most practical. It was a great price point. It had slides, which made it wide. I had an island.
And with kids in the bunkhouse, I call it like the minivan of RVs.
It really was. It was a really great rig for our family, but there's just something special about an Airstream that I really love. And most people will say, but there's no storage. I mean, that literally comes out of everyone that's like, but there's no storage. But everything that was in the back of your truck
is now tucked away outside, and we're going to do an Airstream tour. I'm going to show you.
There's a little spot for it everywhere around the Airstream, and I'm pleasantly surprised with the amount of storage that this holds underneath here.
Yeah.
Even people that are from bigger rigs will come sit in here, because at first you walk in, you're like, well, this is small. So, and it is. There's no slides. There's just one long walkway, which leads to Charlie getting stepped on a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, people from big rigs will come in here and I'll open a cabinet and they'll be like, whoa, that's a lot of space. I had no idea. And the way it opens has ease of use. So I think those are the reasons why we like it.
Yeah, they'll poke around a little bit more and they'll be like, oh, that's where you keep that, and oh, that's kind of clever, and oh, that's interesting that they thought of that. And so we kind of...
and lights are in the right spot. And
so we like the
things
attention.
are easy to open. And
we like the attention to detail. The thing that I'm enjoying about it is that drive days are a big part of RV life. And so a lot of times, and it's very easy to tow. So it's easy to hook up, it's easy to tow. The truck does a great job with it. We're getting almost 13 miles to the gallon, which is cool. And then we'll pull into a truck stop. And because there's no slides, Trish will go back into the RV, and I'll come back when I'm getting fuel, and she'll be like cooking lunch. And then we'll pull over to a stop, and then we'll sit down at the dinette, and then, so we're like using it a lot more.
Yes.
We don't have to pull any stairs down. It just, and it's only 10 feet high, so I don't have to worry about as much low clearance bridges. So all of the little tiny pros are adding up to why we like it so much. But, you know, I wouldn't say there's like big pros and big cons. There's just a lot of advantages and some disadvantages.
Right. And I really think it's kind of funny, like when we'll pull into a Chipotle and we'll grab bowls, and you're not allowed to sit in there in most of them. And we're like, no problem. We have our own little dining area. We come in here, we eat, we have our own restroom. We're grabbing our own cold drinks. Like,
I
don't know. It's just easy.
That's what we love about RV life. And every time I stay in a hotel, I'm like, I just can't stand this. It's exhausting. I'm eating out all the time. I'm eating breakfast. I'm eating dinner. I'm going out all the time, and I'm thinking, I have checkout times. I'm like, when do we get the RV back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's our money talk.
If you have any other questions, put them down below. We're so glad you're here with us every week. We love getting your responses, like when we're chatting on Instagram or we're chatting on Facebook. So thanks so much for being here, and sign up for that email list, because really that's how we get to stay in touch with you.
And then next weekend we're back to travel videos, and then we're going to figure out a route and start, making even more travel videos every Sunday at 7.
Yes. See you then. Bye-bye.